So, David, did you see that Tiger Woods got a little honor the other day?
Was not just a little honor. It was pretty big deal.
The honor of all honors, you could say.
It was the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
That's like the highest civilian honor you could ever get.
That's a pretty big deal.
I know.
And there's been a little controversy around it.
Why would you say that, David?
Well, people were thinking that he diminishes the awards kind of meaning because he's just a sports guy, and why does he deserve it? And he's friends with Trump and all these other kind of things.
Oh, snap. Do you did you follow the Tiger fall from grace, if you will?
Exactly, right? I mean, look, but he's kind of like the comeback story.
He is. Yeah, he is a comeback story.
I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a golf fan in general.
I am not a golf fan, but I have watched Tiger.
You have.
You're pro Tiger, I really have.
Huh?
I was like the last game that he just see. I don't even know much about golf, but
do you call it a game?
No, I don't think you do. The Masters.
Yes.
But he won it for the 5th time. That was a pretty big deal. I was watching it on Sunday afternoon after church, and I was like, I can't believe this.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I just remember him didn't his wife hit his car with a bat and because he cheated on his wife?
Yeah.
And it all went downhill from there.
And
then here he is back getting the Medal of Freedom.
All the way up to the top. I mean, you can't get any higher.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
But now we should say that it wasn't just Tiger who's won this award. Ellen DeGeneres has won this award.
Okay.
So what's the level?
Yes.
What did they say? Babe Ruth has also won it. Who else?
Yeah. And who was another person who won it?
Elvis Presley, yes. I think. Yeah.
Yes. So some solid characters.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is interesting about Tiger Woods, having this moral failure, which maybe kind of leads into what we want to talk about today.
What are we talking about today on the Cross Points podcast?
Well, we're talking about moral failure.
Oh, snap. Dum, dum, dum.
Watch out.
I mean, it's a big topic. Are you ready to tackle it?
Are you ready?
I was born ready for this, David.
Let's do this.
So you're listening to the Cross Points podcast with Aura and David.
Or David and Aura. We're going to get that straightened out.
Yeah, feel free to let us know. Mm-hmm. But today, we're going to talk about moral failures. And I want you to know again, David, that I did an Instagram poll.
You are loving these polls. I love it. This is great.
I mean, I was really interested in what pastors can do for somebody to feel uncomfortable or comfortable. What moral things can they do for somebody to be get off the pulpit, or
really what's the line in the sand before they want them out?
Yes. Exactly.
They can't cross this.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm dying to
hear.
Are you excited? As I should tell our listeners, we don't talk about this ahead of time, so I'm hearing this for the first time, just like you. Okay. So let's go for this.
So I started with a couple polls, and then in the end, I did a question section. So
okay, hold it. I got to interrupt just a second.
Yes.
These are not just believers. This is across the spectrum,
correct?
Right.
So maybe the majority, maybe not believers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
all right.
Yes. Okay. So first question was, would it bother you if your pastor was a diehard HBO fan? If they were man, I loved Game of Thrones. I loved Sex and the City. I tried to do more of a risque thing that we could measure.
Okay. Right. Oh, so interesting.
Sexual content was what I was trying to measure.
So what they view on TV.
Yes. Would it make you feel uncomfortable if your pastor you'd think? So 80% said they don't care about the sexual content.
Wow.
80%. Yes.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
Would it bother you if your pastor drank alcohol?
Ooh.
Which I feel like most pastors don't drink alcohol.
I don't know.
So it was interesting. So
what did you get?
94% said it's fine if they drink alcohol.
Totally fine.
They don't care at all.
I was gonna say I kind of think the whole drinking thing used to be a bigger deal in the 80s.
You think it's kind of faded?
I think it's totally faded.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think our culture is faded.
Yeah.
I mean, changed, not faded. Yeah. The culture has changed in the sense that I think it's way more acceptable.
Yeah. Well,
can our
pastors on staff, do they sign something to not drink alcohol?
No, our pastors do not sign anything.
They can do. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Would it bother you if you heard your pastor cussing?
Ooh.
75% said that's fine, not bothered.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
That was interesting.
That would bother me.
And would it bother you if your pastor was divorced and remarried?
Okay.
80% said that's fine.
That's fine.
They can be divorced and remarried. This was the closest one.
I don't feel like you've hit the line in the sand yet in your polls.
I know. So this was the closest one.
Okay.
Would it bother you if your lead pastor got divorced while being the lead pastor and didn't step down?
Oh, and did not step down during the whole process.
Yes, and 60% said they can do that. 40% said he needs to step down.
Wow, to me that's really shocking.
I was really surprised by the numbers. I feel like I'm way harsher on the pastor. They'd be like, "Get out of here!"
You are.
I know. So,
or I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yes.
What was one of those things? You don't have to tell me all of them, but what
Yeah.
would be one that you'd be like, no, they've gotta go.
I'm not into like a cool pastor. Like I'm not
Yeah.
into one who's like cussing on the pulpit and like
yeah,
doing like
yeah.
I'm not into that. And
Okay.
I have been to like some churches in Tulsa where like there were the cool pastors.
Really? Okay.
And I'm not into it.
You're
I'm
just
like, get out
come
of
on.
here. Yeah.
Just, let's be real here.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like it.
That's
so
okay.
stuff like that.
Interesting.
I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not into it. And I definitely would not like if my pastor was getting divorced and I'd be like, get off the pulpit.
Yeah, like, come on, you gotta really focus
Yeah,
your
you've got
life
too much
here.
going on
This
in your
is-
life. Maybe
this
you can
is-
come back up, but you need to like
this
back
is
off for a
not
little
good.
bit. That's my personal
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I think
yeah.
I would agree with you.
Too
for
messy.
Sure. Yeah.
So then I did a question and answer, and I said like, or not a question and answer. I just asked a question, and I said like, what would it be for like, just send in things that your pastor would have to do, and you would like personally request them to step down.
Oh, good. Okay, so not just your questions, but what
Yes.
they. Okay, this is
So
good.
I got a lot of answers.
Okay.
And some of them involve just breaking the law, which for me, I'm like, well, yeah, if you broke the law,
Well,
like,
let's
get out of here.
let's hope so.
But they were some funny ones. So,
Okay.
well, not funny. Well, embezzlement and stealing.
okay.
You're done.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
good.
This one's my favorite one. Parked in a handicap spot without being handicapped.
What? Are you kidding me?
That's my favorite one.
That's
Get out of
that is
here.
so random.
Committing a crime.
Okay.
Sexual or physical abuse.
Yes.
So any of those, I'm like,
Right,
for sure.
of course.
Yes. Okay, so these ones are not breaking the law. Having an affair. That was the most prominent answer
Yes.
of having
okay.
to get off.
For sure.
Racism or sexism from the pulpit.
From the pulpit.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're spewing that kind of
Yes.
language, talk, whatever.
Gotta go.
Yeah. Okay.
Lying.
Yes.
And then
Ooh, that's good, that's good.
officiating a gay marriage.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yes,
Yeah.
Those were some
okay.
of the responses for what people would be uncomfortable with their
Very
pastor doing.
interesting. I don't know if you're talking about moral failure and all of this. I don't know if you've heard about this church in Chicago, formerly pastored by Bill Hybels. You know who
No,
Bill Hybels
never heard of
is?
him.
Okay, so Bill Hybels was the pastor of Willow Creek Church. And
Okay.
Willow Creek Church was like this church that started with like just 25 people in the basement. I mean, I don't know if it was in the
Okay.
basement, but they
Yeah,
started off with a
small
few
church.
small church, and it grew to over like 25,000 members.
Okay.
And it just came out over the last year and a half that he had like inappropriate relationships with several women. And he had been accused but refused to step down. And
Whoa.
right, and said
Like
no.
Me Too movement kind of issues.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and refused to. And then one of the papers in Chicago caught hold of all of this. Of course, it's a 20,000 member church, so it's a big deal. And they did an investigation, found some people that did interviews, and he eventually was pressured to resign, but still maintained his innocence.
Really?
Yeah, which
Intrigue.
it has created a whole bunch of conflict within the church
Yeah.
about the power that a lead pastor has. And when that pastor has power and authority, particularly over women or in moral issues, and those pastors fall, then the fallout that comes as a result of that.
Yeah.
It's a really
Big deal.
hard thing for a church to go through. Now, this got so big that the elders were accused of covering up
Oh, snap.
the
Catholic Church
inappropriateness,
call-out.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, of it. And so as a result of that, the entire elder board stepped down.
good.
Of a 25,000 member church.
Yeah.
And they reinstituted a brand new board, 9 different people, men and women,
Okay.
on the board that just started this January.
Ooh.
And now they're taking the church through, all of our processes and what we do.
And like, how many people left the church? Was it like a big split?
It's been hard to find in the news,
Okay.
like how much the church has dropped. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But if it's anything like what we experienced at Full Faith or Cross
Yes.
Points Church, I can only imagine that there's lots and lots of people that were hurt by this.
Yeah. That's
Because
interesting.
that's one of the things, like with moral failure, it doesn't just hurt that individual in kind of like the Me Too movement, right?
Yeah.
It's not just an act against one person. When you're in a position of authority,
Mm-hmm.
you're affecting everybody else in the organization.
Yeah.
You're affecting everybody else in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're talking about hundreds or thousands of lives.
Yes. Oh boy, that's intense.
So it puts, like, for me as a pastor, it like weighs on my heart so much. Like, these moral failures are such a big deal, and we see them happening in churches all over the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about a little bit more about what happened at Full Faith, because I was not a member at that point.
Okay, yeah.
And you were on staff.
Yeah, I was
And
on
we had
staff.
a
So this
moral
is
failure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back in the early '90s. So our founding pastor at that point, Ernie Gruen, who had written books and was quite a leader in the charismatic movement in the United States and at large.
Okay.
And so we were one of the largest mega churches here in Kansas City, and it came out through a fax that he sent through a fax. Wow. Back in the day, the old faxes, right? So he sent a fax to the church and said, I resign, I'm divorcing my wife, and I'm moving to Florida with my secretary. I mean, that's the essence of what...
So he wasn't outed. He outed himself.
He outed himself and said, I'm out of here.
Okay.
And he sent, and that was how the staff found out that he was gone.
Were you like, this is an April Fool's joke? Like, was anybody like,
Well, no, here's that. I was in Russia at the time.
Okay.
Because Russia had just kind of opened its doors, and so I came back and stepped off the plane, and we were getting information. And again, we were a huge church, 4,000 members in the church at that point. And I was like, there's no way. What is going on?
Yeah.
And it was like an atomic bomb went off in the church.
Just like the total effects of everybody.
The total effect, because it didn't just affect our staff, it didn't just affect his family, it affected thousands of people here in Kansas City, and then literally people all over the United States. It was horrific.
Wow, that's really intense.
And then it came out that he didn't just leave with the secretary, but that he had multiple affairs over the years.
Man. It's hard to grapple with if you think like, man, I thought this guy was legit. Like, I thought this guy was like teaching me the ways of Christ.
And that point right there is like so important to talk about.
Yeah.
Because we so put these pastors on pedestals. Mm-hmm. They have all kinds of power. And the problem is that, it didn't just happen in the 90s. We're still seeing pastors all over the United States that are unfortunately having moral failures, and people are getting hurt and wounded and disillusioned, and it creates a lot of anger and bitterness. I mean, we saw our church drop from like almost 4,000 to 2,000 in like 3 months' time.
Wow.
I mean, that's 2,000 people just jet because they're like, I thought he was a man of God.
Yeah.
I thought he was this. And so then the disillusionment comes to be like, well, is any of this real? It's all fake. It's hurt. I don't believe it.
And you almost are like, how did the staff not know this? How did they, why did they know? And it was not like, how's this happening?
Then there's big infighting.
Yes.
Right? With who's in power and why were these leaders allowing this person to be there? And surely they knew. And again, we didn't do any kind of official investigation. This was back in the 90s. But what came out really surprised the leadership.
Okay.
Like they just really didn't know. Now, a number of our elders stepped down as a result of that.
They did.
As well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for some of them it was a matter of just being hurt. Like they themselves looked to him as like their spiritual father.
Yeah.
And so they were just as disillusioned as anybody else was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What do you think about like a pastor like that? I don't know what he's doing now, or Ted Haggard, for instance.
Yeah, another one.
Somebody who like then tries to start another church and goes back to it.
Yeah. So we had lots of conversations about this, like post, our founding pastor at that point. Okay, because several years later, he wanted to actually become the pastor of the church again.
He did?
He did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, not very many people know this.
Oh.
Yeah, and so then the leadership grappled with theologically, how should we stand on this?
Yeah, that's interesting.
How is this going to feel with the people in the church who've been hurt and wounded already? Do we want to bring all this back up again?
Yeah.
But yet we also want to be a people that believes in reconciliation. That reconciliation doesn't just happen with just lay people, right? Like you fall, you make mistake, whatever happens in your own particular life, you sin, you want to have that grace of God in your own life. Well, shouldn't that grace of God extend to leaders as well in positions of influence? Then the question is, we want to extend reconciliation, but to what degree do they have the ability to come back in their former positions?
Yeah, right.
Right, because that's a whole different...
Not the same thing.
There's personal reconciliation between you and the Lord, but then what about the position itself?
Yeah.
And we decided no, that was not going to be a possibility for him to come back just because of all of the hurt and the damage that had taken place in the church.
Yeah, okay.
But does that mean that the gifts and callings that God had placed on him or any other pastor, are those removed? And I
don't know.
And I'm going to take a bold stand here and I'm going to say, I don't believe so.
You don't?
No, I really don't.
That's really
now,
interesting.
I don't believe that it was good for him to come back and be the pastor, but I think those gifts and callings are still there.
Okay.
Like, that's the grace of God. That's the God that we believe in.
Okay.
So here's an example. You brought up Ted Haggard. Like, Ted Haggard is pastoring a church today.
I know.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did.
And I go on every once in a while and check on it. Now, the church is not a mega church. It's not big. But let me tell you, he preaches in a very different way now than what he did when he was at the height of his power.
Okay.
And I think it's a more grace-filled message.
Okay.
And I think it's actually a message the church should hear more now than what it heard when he had way more influence.
That's really interesting.
Because he's been humbled.
Let me give you a counterpoint
Okay,
here.
please, yeah.
Okay, Moses wasn't allowed in the Promised Land.
He wasn't.
It was like he messed up. He was given a lot of tools.
Yep.
He even had Aaron to kind of help him out.
Absolutely.
And then he messed up.
Yeah.
And it was like, see ya.
Yeah, right.
I know that's Old Testament, but that's God, same God.
Yeah, which is where I would have gone. Like, so that's an Old Testament perspective that says, hey, there's no grace and forgiveness in the sense of Jesus' blood really covering over us. So I guess then I would push back and say, and I love this, right? So we're having a little bit of disagreement finally. Let me push back. So then I would say, okay, so is there some line that a pastor can sin and still then be allowed to be back in the pulpit? Does that make sense? Or
Like lead pastor is what I'm saying too. It's not like they're like, hey, I'd love to help out the church in some way. I'd love to do, but being like, I want to get back to the place of a lead pastor.
Right. And are you saying you would say no to any lead pastor position
I would
forever?
say no. I would say no forever.
They've made the mistake and so
Yes.
never. I just don't see God doing it like that.
Okay.
Now, I would say that there'd have to be a time of humility and repentance and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And not to just say, oh, he repented and so now let's put him right back in the pulpit.
Yeah.
But to be able to say, hey, no forever, I just don't see that.
Interesting.
I think here's Peter, okay? This is maybe I don't know how this was, but Paul has a conversation with Peter and says, hey, at this point now, it's okay for us to associate with Gentiles. It's okay for us to eat foods that are not clean.
Okay.
And Peter agrees with this because he goes and sees Cornelius and all these Romans come to faith in Christ, and Peter has this moment. And then it says, I think it's in Galatians where Paul has to confront Peter because Peter has begun to disassociate himself with the Gentiles, and he doesn't eat that unclean food anymore. And basically he turns his back on those Gentile believers because he's afraid of what the Jews are going to think of him.
Okay.
And Paul confronts him to his face and says, what's wrong with you?
Okay.
Okay, so that's Peter. So that's a failing for him at that point.
Okay.
Peter also failed Jesus by denying Jesus. We go back to that point. And Jesus doesn't say, okay, you've fallen, you failed, you denied me 3 times, and so now you're completely out of ministry. I just don't see that.
Okay.
He's a reconciliation God.
Okay. Counterpoint.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
What about the well-known notion that teachers are going to be judged harder by Christ?
Yeah.
Preachers would be judged harder by Christ.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that judgment then come with a more severe punishment than just allowing them to then be in charge of a flock again?
Potentially, or you could look at that from an eternal perspective, like is judgment going to be greater for them in heaven, so to speak?
Yeah.
Right, in the days to come. Right.
I don't know. I mean, would you be in heaven and still have a severe judgment? Is that?
Well, that's a whole other podcast.
I don't know, yeah.
That's we're talking about rewards in heaven,
Yeah.
which that's a whole other issue.
Okay.
Less rewards.
Jewels on your crown. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, well, let's go back to David. David as the king of Israel. I mean, classic example. Murders, has an affair.
He was pretty shady.
Pretty shady. But still, God doesn't take him from the kingdom. He
Yes.
doesn't remove him from being king.
Yeah.
He could have,
Yes.
but he doesn't.
Okay.
I'm fully agreeing with you that that there is greater judgment for those in authority. Absolutely, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But does God remove the gifts and calling from an individual?
Yeah.
I just don't think so.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and my vote would be like, he doesn't remove the gifts and calling, but he removes the privilege.
Ooh, interesting.
So you can still have a lot of the gifts and callings that you had as a pastor.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're the lead pastor.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. That's my counterpoint.
That's good. I like it. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes,
Yeah,
please
because
let us
maybe
know.
what's the line for their pastor?
Yes, please
you know?
let us know. We're so interested. Comment, send us some messages, and as always, send us any questions that you have. You can email us at podcast@crosspointschurch.com.
You got it.
Or you can send us a message, and we're happy to answer any of your questions.
Or that was really good. If I was going to say thank you, that was I appreciate that.
Yeah, good one.
Good.
Hey-o, so today we are doing a different Q&A today. If you haven't noticed, David is not sitting next to me right now. We are going to try to get to know the staff members of Cross Points Church a little bit better.
That's cool.
Yeah, so instead of David's Q&A today, we are meeting with Jen.
Cool.
And we also did this on episode 8 with Pastor Andy. We kind of do some quick spitfire questions, some quick Q&A rounds, going through like 30 questions today.
He was
with
great
you.
at it.
I know, he was really good.
So I have to match up.
I know.
That's really
Pressure's
hard.
on.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit about Jen. She is our lead pastor's assistant, Pastor David's assistant. Fun fact, she's also Pastor David's sister.
I am.
Yes. So you've worked for him for like 4 years?
Yep, I have. It's awesome.
Yay.
I was a stay-at-home mom for like 17 years, so
Oh my goodness.
it was like a big change.
Yes.
But God called me into it. So
That's
it's really
awesome.
cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah, I think
Okay, here we go. What's the furthest you've ever been from home?
so. Grease,
Ooh, what temperature do you request your steaks cooked to?
medium rare.
What TV show that's on right now do you like to watch?
I think I have two. Like, I really like, man, I can't think of the name of the show.
Tell me it's reality TV.
It's reality TV,
Yes.
but first of all, Bachelorette. I have to say Bachelorette right
Okay.
now. It's getting ready to come on, so I'm super excited.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
cool. What's your dream car?
I'm not really a car person at all.
Okay.
But if I had to pick a car, a car that drives itself. How about that? Like,
I like
I don't
that.
have to drive and it would just drive me. That would be really cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
What was the last picture you took?
Yeah, I love geese. This is so
Oh, boy.
stupid. Like, I love geese. And there's these baby geese, and I go across the street all the time because there's a pond over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I will just film them and watch them, and they're so cute. So I just
great.
took that picture yesterday. I was really excited to see them.
I love that.
They're so cute.
What was your favorite movie in the last 5 years?
I really love Les Mis. I don't know if that's 5 years ago, but if I had another one, I love Crazy Rich Asians.
I love Crazy Rich
I
Asians.
love that movie. It was really good. It
was cute.
surprised me when I watched it.
Good rom-com. Worst boyfriend ever, just putting that out there. He's
Oh,
not
yeah,
a good
yeah.
boyfriend, but great rom-com.
But oh my gosh, I love that movie. It was really good.
That was really good. If you could make a documentary about anything, what would it be?
Yeah, so I think it would be something to do with the church. Like, I love the church and I love everything about it. I recently went to visit my sister, and I was there, and there was a church that was like had been sold, and I went in it, and it was like filled with like nudity, like pictures. It was like supposed to be like shocking.
Wow.
And so for me, I was like, man, that's so sad that all these churches are closing. So I think it'd be really cool to go into different churches and like communities and kind of talk about how church is needed and how it changes communities, and
Yeah.
not how people think that they are. Like, a lot of people are against the church. So I think that would be a really cool
That would
documentary.
be a really cool
Yeah.
documentary. Let's get on that.
Yeah.
What's a trend you'd like to see disappear forever?
Oh gosh. Okay, so right now I really hate those really chunky like tennis shoes that that girls
Platform
are wearing.
shoes?
Not platform. They're like dad tennis shoes. Have you
yes,
seen them?
yes.
I hate them.
Okay.
They used to wear them in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're like disgusting.
Okay, those have got to go. What's a movie you watch and you thought, I'm never going to get that time back?
Recently, I just watched it. Dumbo.
okay.
I hated it. It was terrible. Don't go see it. Sorry if you liked it.
If you were an animal, what would you be?
Yeah, I think I'm a cat because I'm curious. Don't they say cats are curious?
I don't know.
I think that's it because they like to play and they're like curious maybe.
Okay, all right.
But like if I could be a cat, it would be Taylor Swift's cat. Have you seen them? They're so
Celebrity
cute.
cats, I like
I
that.
love them.
That's so great. What's your biggest phobia?
Mice and rats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you
I
can't be a
even-
cat. I'm sorry.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah, those went back to back. That's kind of true.
know.
But maybe I'd kill them and I'd be okay
I know,
with
there
it.
you
Maybe.
go. What's your favorite board game?
I hate, games.
Not a board
nope,
game.
Nope. If it was Tetris, if maybe there was like a board game that played Tetris,
Okay.
maybe. I don't know, but yeah.
I like that. Okay. If you weren't working at church, what job would you have right now?
Yeah, I have a lot of them. Can I be like a resort, like host, or like go to different resorts and just critique them?
Ooh,
Is this
I
a
like
thing?
that. Like a secret
It's
shopper
yeah,
for
yeah,
resorts.
yeah. You can just take me there and I'll tell you which one has the better bed, which better food. Did you ever see
What a
this
job.
thing? They had like the vacation. Did you ever see this guy, like in Australia? They had like a job for someone to come in and live on this like island, and it was
No.
like $100,000.
No.
Dream job.
But sign me up. What would the title be of your autobiography?
Plot twist.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's one of your pet peeves?
Oh, it's another shoe thing. Can I tell you that?
Yes.
I hate kitten heels.
Really?
They're so stupid. Like, why do you have a heel that's this tiny? Like, wear no heel or a tall heel?
Oh, I love it.
They're so ugly.
I love pet peeves. What's something that always makes you laugh?
Witty, like funny,
Okay.
if you're witty, yeah.
Good comeback. So me.
Sarcastic
Okay.
and witty, yeah. Yeah.
What's the first thing you notice about someone when you meet them?
Smile.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What's a celebrity you'd think you'd be friends with in real life?
Jennifer Gardner.
Oh my
I
goodness,
love
yes,
her.
I love her too.
If you don't follow her on social media, you have to. She is so fun
She has
and
a cooking
funny.
show.
She just does it, and like she's so relatable.
Yes.
we would totally be BFFs.
I really like her.
Yeah, and she's best friends with Reese Witherspoon.
Ayo, another
Yeah,
girl I like.
yeah.
I like it all. Okay, what is a song that's likely to get stuck in your head at any time?
Oh, yeah, my son was just singing this song, and I've had it in my head for like weeks. Do you remember the song? It's Friday.
Oh yes. Oh yes. That totally gets stuck in my head. I love it. Okay.
And I love it. I mean, I don't love it, but I love it when I sing it. Yeah.
What's the chore you hate doing the most?
Cooking.
Okay. What's your favorite kind of toothpaste?
Crest. Doesn't everyone love Crest?
No, I like Arm & Hammer.
Oh, I don't like that.
What's the first book you really remember liking?
Yeah, I'm not like a big reader. I am. I like them. I'm trying to think of what was the book this is going to sound so cliche, like really, but the Bible, like I remember, come on. No, I'm serious. Let me say this. Like the Bible is something that I read and I was like, oh my gosh, I finally get it. You know how like you read and then the Bible becomes like,
alive.
And that was it. So yeah,
I'll take it. I'll take it. All
Sorry.
right. Who's your favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
What record
Witty.
would you go for in the Guinness Book of World Records? Pogo stick. Pogo stick.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yes. I would be terrible at it, but okay. Hula hooping maybe, because I'm actually halfway decent hula hooper.
Ooh, let's get that going. Social media, here we come. What color is your toothbrush?
Gray.
Oh, who's your favorite late night host?
Jimmy Fallon.
Me too. What did you eat for breakfast this morning?
Coffee.
That is not a meal. It's the most important meal of the day.
It is. I should really start. Yeah.
What reality TV show do you think you'd actually be good on?
Oh, okay. I would have loved to do Amazing Race. I don't know if they
Yes, I
still
love
do
that
it,
one.
but I really love it.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the seasons, like that was my thing. I
Would you do it
really
with
wanted to do
David?
it. I think we could do it.
Ooh.
I think we could totally do it. Like we would be really good. We work well together.
I like it. What's your least favorite beverage?
I don't like tea that much. Tea's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
Especially sweet tea. Ugh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Whose name should go first on the podcast?
Ooh.
Aura or David?
What if it was just initials? Well, I don't know. But maybe everyone else
Pleading
has
the
said
fifth?
Aura. I'm going to say David.
All right, fair enough. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. That was fun.